So after we talk about the metrics, it looks like you guys have a firm grasp of that, but we'll go over it anyways because it's really fun, and everybody will get something out of that section, I believe. We're going to talk about an example of how you can potentially reap benefits from this type of process, from optimization of direct mail. And I'm going to use what's for me now a classic example, one of the first projects I took on working for JMH, of an example of Emory's quarterly catalog. And you guys get kind of a little numerical breakdown there. We've got some charts to share with you guys there. It's a really, really cool example. And then finally, I'm going to introduce the smart mailing list. And we're going to take all the information from the previous sections that you can see there, and we're going to lay the foundation for developing a smart mailing list. And I'm going to break it down for you guys. The beautiful thing about it is that this smart mailing list, I call it smart because it improves itself, like I said, term after term. It doesn't matter if you're in an economic downturn or not. This thing is gonna make money for you, and it's gonna save money for you. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the problem. And I say here, you're the part of the problem or part of the solution. I don't want to knock any experts or all experts or any particular experts, but what I'm about to go through is an exercise in logic. And the point is that it's really hard to trust those statistics. We go to seminars and we listen to webinars, and people spout statistics at us, and we go turn around and we start using that in conversation in our office, and we try and draw conclusions from it. But I'm going to show you how sometimes that can be kind of dangerous. The catalog. Let's talk about the catalog and brochures in general. I would like to report that the catalog itself is cursed, just like this little pirate ship here that looks all friendly. It's cursed because it has two things about it, two important characteristics. Historically, the catalog has been the flagship, and most brochures have been the flagship of active marketing efforts. And at the same time, they're incredibly expensive and time-consuming, probably the most of all types of marketing efforts. And one thing that a friendly organization tells us, being Learn, I don't know if this is true, but that 75% of your income is coming out of your catalogs. At the same time, we found at Emory that 75% of registrations come through the website. Of course, there I'm comparing apples and oranges. Since any good catalog is going to drive readers to the website, there's going to be some mix. But this number is an example of something we should be cautious of. I'm not entirely sure it's true, but it's an interesting statistic, at least to keep in the back of your mind. At the same time, I'd like to purport that in even very diversified continuing education marketing departments, those would be things with specific budgets for search engine optimization, pay-per-click, email, radio, open house information sessions, etc. The catalog can still suck up about 30% of some budgets, and that means it's huge. If it's giving us 75% of our income but still costing 30%, I'm sure there's still room for improvement. Not to pick on Learn too much, but we're going to take another quote of theirs and go through this little exercise pretty quickly. I'm talking about the issue, one of the problems that we face here. In a recent publication of theirs, about 3-4 months ago, maybe a little longer now, Learn had a series of articles talking about how to improve your printed brochure. And to reinforce the importance of these suggestions, they made arguments about how much better catalogs were than emails. And I've got these symbols up here for you. The @ represents emails, and the little envelope is going to represent our brochures. And Learn's brochures in this really nice place that we have here, they tell us something very important that we should all take to heart. It's a simple fact that catalogs have 10 times the aggregate sales compared to emails. And reading that, the conclusion, of course, is that emails are puny in comparison to catalogs, that we should be focusing on the brochures, and that's in fact what Learn in general suggests for us. But as Jack Kerouac said in his book The Dharma Bums, his character who is representing Allen Ginsberg said that comparisons are odious, and I'm going to show you guys how that's true. Not to get too beatnik on everybody, but the idea, the point that I'm trying to make here is that our smart mailing list isn't this sort of naive assumption about an impressive sounding statistic. It really is smart, and it's adaptable. It's not something that just works in one place or another. It's not something that's just true about one institution or another. It's something that really works. It's a process that makes itself better under in any environment. It's not simple little revisions like a lot of experts suggest, like changing the course description lengths or color schemes or layout to improve your response. This is something that's very smart. But let's go ahead and assume that what they tell us is true, that catalogs have 10 times the aggregate sales response compared to emails. If that's true, then this equation is what it looks like. It looks like you put 10 times as much work into emails as you would into catalogs to get the same one person to register for your programs. But if we twist this a little bit, not even too much, we're just going to multiply each of the size of all of these little coins by the cost of each. Sending in bulk, an email can cost about a penny a piece, and a catalog can cost somewhere around 50 pennies a piece to send in bulk. And here you see those objects scaled by price. So which one's the cheaper one to go for? Well, let's not stop there. Let's take it a step further. Let's multiply that by the amount of money we get from the same the tuition payment from the same customer. And what you get is a comparison of ROIs. And what happens from this statement that says that catalogs have 10 times the aggregate sales compared to emails, I can flip around and tell you that it's a simple fact that emails generally have at least 5 times the aggregate sales return compared to catalogs. And my point here is it's important to really pay attention to the metrics that you're using to make smart decisions. And one of the issues here is that we just translated from a metric from one R word, the return, a response, into another return. And there's not a subtle difference between those two. In fact, it's huge. The difference is catalogs have 10 times the sales response, but emails have 5 times the sales return. I want to warn you guys, I don't even think that this number is actually true, so it's probably not true for your institution, and it may be true for some out there, but you can see the point. The idea is that it's important to really pick a good metric and make sure that we're using those to encourage people to do the right things. And I'm going to argue for the ROI, and I'll do that here in a moment. So right now, all of you guys are looking like this, just like this lady here, pulling your hair out and saying, "Thanks, Jacob, this really isn't helpful at all, but I'd like to take a moment here while we're all stressed out to summarize the problem." We have a couple of questions. And the questions are, how many catalogs should we be sending? And my answer to you is as many or as few as makes sense. And you can know that using a good process by analyzing data. Your markets, your programs, seasonality, the economy, etc. May all adjust this, and it may change rapidly, but we need to be agile to respond to that. Another question is how much should we be spending? And that's something that your teams are probably really good at figuring out. But with a really good sense of what the ROI and conversion rates are, you can translate this into a bunch of other metrics as well, depending on your revenue goals. Another question, and this is a good one, is where should we be sending these catalogs? And that's something that the Smart Mailing List is going to figure out for us. And combining all of these things, it all comes into a question about how can we spend less and make more at the same time? How can you cut a budget in a bad economy, but at the same time turn around and make more money doing it? How can we make it more efficient? Let's trim up the fat and spend that extra money that we free up on other marketing initiatives that are oh so important in these times. And here's a little reassurance. These people are really excited, and now you guys are about to be as well. And I want you guys to go ahead and read the words as they appear on the screen to yourselves. I will know because I'm telepathic. I want to tell you guys that you can intelligibly know how many catalogs you should send. Based on quarterly goals and historical successes, you can determine the optimal number of catalogs that you should send. It's not an arbitrary number you're going to pick out of the air. I'm also going to tell you that you guys can spend less and make more at the same time. It's absolutely true. And this is what we should all be striving for all the time, in good times and in bad. We shouldn't be wasting our time, and we shouldn't be wasting our resources. And the best news is that you can do it right now, even in these tough times. And the reason why is because all you need is your own data. You don't need any data collection outside of what we're already doing. All the numbers are there within reach. Your registration system is a powerful tool. You should be leveraging it. If you send in catalogs through a clearinghouse, you can leverage the clearinghouse as well. The catalog works. Brochures work. They bring in business, and they have. And to be honest with you, making them do a better job is probably not about little tweaks. It's probably not about revising the length of a course description or changing colors here and there. That's probably not going to open the floodgates of registration. However, sending it to the right people, the people that really will take your class, is going to open those floodgates, and that's exactly what we're going to try and do. One other thing, a point I wanted to make here was about the Smart Mailing List before we move on. Learn made a point that some organizations completely killed their catalogs, and I agree with them here when they said that it was a disastrous move. And I think the reason why is because they didn't use numbers to make that decision. It was look how much we're spending on the catalog. We have to cut budgets. That's the biggest one. Let's cut it. I'd also like to point out to everybody that the Smart Mailing List is automatically going to tell you exactly how many catalogs to send. As I've said, whether it's 100,000 catalogs, whether it's 65,000 catalogs, or whether it's 0 catalogs, this process will tell you when it's okay to go ahead and cut that.